Hi there, folks. Simon here. This is a very interesting, very special tournament match. This is the quarterfinals of the Intermediate Open Tournament of 2023. This is between MehrGills and Adelta. This is their game one. I have said this is several times. And this is, again, different because, as you can see, I'm actually not able to stream this. We're having some difficulties. We pushed out a brand new update to Playtac, and there was a slight hiccup. And since the push was, I think, minutes before this game started, that slight hiccup is that we can't spectate the game. And so Adelta has been kind enough to live stream their screen as they play so that I can do a live commentary on this and so that we can capture all of this. So that's fun. Uh, so they are currently going on, and we're about to start with them right now. And as you can see, a slight difference to the screen here. We've got we've got some new game stuff going up here, different icons. Anyway, that's beside the point. We should get into the game and get going. This is played on a 6x6 board with 15 minutes on the clock and a 10-second increment, meaning you get 10 seconds added to your time after every turn. Also, we're playing with 2 Komi, meaning that if the game does not end in a row, 2 gets added to Black's flat count score. So we are good to go, ready to jump right into game 1 of MehrGills versus Adelta. Adelta in white, MehrGills in black. All right, and we see the A6 placement for the first move, and the hug opening. MehrGills going for the hug. All right. Adelta jumping right into that center control, playing over there at C4, trying to get that piece that it's sort of like a knight's opening from the hug. But it also gets that center control, so that's kind of nice. It is interesting that we get to see Adelta's sort of thought process here. Where am I going to place? Do I want to put here, here, here? So that's always fun to see when we get to see that perspective, like we did to get to see in some of those TAC championship matches where Aliano2 recorded his own screen. But now we're seeing MehrGills drop that capstone there. I think that's a great spot for a capstone. It follows a lot of the guidelines we talk about in the capstones video of TAC University. All right, looks like Adelta's playing over there at D6. I'm not sure what that is really going for. It might be just building another anchor point over there on that upper half, because I don't think that white can really rely on any sort of horizontal pathing at this point. But I think what white wants to do is build maybe at D5 and go for that vertical there and use that D6 spot as sort of that anchor point in the vertical direction. But it doesn't look like they're doing that. They're going to be playing down at C3 first, which I find interesting. I feel like black is going to want to play here at A5. Doesn't play at A5. Plays at D5 instead. Now, this is a strong play because this is moving towards that horizontal direction. Now, you're playing in the horizontal. Black had both options available to them by playing at A5. They played at D5 to sort of commit to this horizontal. Now, this is great because it sort of messes up white's vertical line. White drops that capstone there, however, ready to come down. Black drops now at A5. This is going for the horizontal and the vertical direction at the same time. So if white decides to make some sort of capture, black can just switch gears and play down at B3. So really, really keeping the options open here. Okay, so A4. All right, white. It's a smart play, playing at A4, able to come over and capture onto B4 at some point or up onto A5, but that's not as great. But B4 at some point can help kind of cut off that vertical line that black is building, and also works towards white building a horizontal line up there at the top. Now white's going to probably come up with D4 onto D5 to cut off that horizontal line that black is building. White could also play something like at F5, could bring D6 down, But I feel like that capstone coming up onto d5 is probably the strongest play we're going to see here. Oh, instead going to be bringing d6 down. Now, this is tempting for black to capture that with the capstone. But if black does capture the capstone, you better believe white's going to be dropping a wall there at c5. Instead, black plays at d6, a smart, slower play here. All right. And then c6 captures. It's tough. Now black basically has to capture with that capstone. Really wants that stack. Black could decide to just shift gears, play at b3 first, maybe make that capture afterwards. I'm not really sure what the point of that would be, though. I don't know. This is a tough one. It is a tough one, for sure. I really like that capture. Even though it does mess things up, I still like it. It's probably not the best, but I still like it for some reason. I think that playing c6 is better, though. And I think that playing c6, then you can play at e6, make that capture onto that spot, and not relinquish your control of that area. I think that's a really smart way to go about this. It's very patient as well. Definitely putting a lot of patience in there, that's for sure. All right, we're seeing white. Looks like white is playing down at b3. Now, this cuts off black going for that vertical, of course, like we know, but also it's building towards that horizontal for white. White can then play over at e4, f4, make that threat. The threat after e4 and f4, I mean, sure, that's a ways down the road, of course. But after e4 and f4, then you've got the option to play either b3 plus or at a3 to complete that road. And so you've got a few options for white here to be going for that horizontal road. And I think that's probably the right move here. Black has the opportunity and the desire to capture over onto d5 with that capstone to mess up any sort of vertical plans that white has going on right now. But that's the vertical plan. And white can shift gears to the horizontal plan, and there's less of a motivation for black to mess that up to come down with c5 because there's no stack there. There's no prisoner that they could liberate under d5. Black taking his time here. We do notice the time on these two players. We get MehrGills down to 12 and a half minutes on the clock as black, and adelta just below 14 minutes as white. So adelta definitely taking less time per turn than MehrGills, but we can see their positions are very different here. And adelta has made 2 flat-on-flat captures, which, if you've seen the captures video of Tech University, you know that's not necessarily a great thing that's going on for white at this point. Black now playing at e4, really just expecting that e4 placement to come out soon, and that's a smart move, as black a little defensive is my thought. You might have had time to play up at e6 first before that, but the e4 placement is probably, yeah, that's a good move because it cuts off white from being able to make that horizontal just yet. But now if white plays at e6 to continue that horizontal, black has even more reason to come over and capture onto d5, and that's exactly what they do. Immediate capture. Now white should probably drop a wall here at c5. But dropping a wall at c5 isn't that helpful because you do have that horizontal road possibilities still because of the formation there at a6, b5, a5, and c6. That whole upper left corner is almost entirely controlled by black, and so yeah, that's a strong position there for black. Even if white drops a wall there, there's still a lot of possibility for black to do some good. Now, the one thing also to note is that white dropping a wall there wouldn't be great for their flat count differential because there's no stacks to capture because black has not made a single flat on flat capture this whole game. They've only captured with that capstone. So there's no flats, no captives to liberate. So that makes dropping a wall really difficult, really hard to do because you know you're not going to be able to earn that negative flat count differential move back unless there's some capturing later on that you can use that wall to capture with. But I still think that that wall there on c5 is sort of the move that you have to make from this position. Yeah, it's black's just in too good of a position otherwise. If you wait and don't drop a wall there at c5, black's in too good of a spot. I mean, if you drop yeah, if you drop a flat there and black flats at f5, that is really close to Tinue, if not Tinue. So that's something you gotta be sure about here. You definitely don't want black being able to drop at f5 after you've dropped a flat at c5 or done nothing at c5. Looks like white's looking back at that previous move. Yeah, you gotta drop a wall here at c5. Because it's so strong for black if you don't. And I'm not sure if there's any way to recover that. But white taking a lot of time here. We just mentioned the time before this turn where adelta had just under 14 minutes played. And they spent 4 minutes on this turn alone trying to figure out what to do here. MehrGills spent very little time before this move, and now is up on time by getting close to 3 minutes here, whereas he was behind by quite a bit. So definitely, playing a4 plus, not the move I would have expected here at all, really. But now, is black going to drop a flat at c5? I feel like c5 flat, that's got to happen. He's got to be dropping at c5. I mean, his choices are basically c5 and f5 here. Oh, but what does he do? Yeah, I would play at c5 because I do not want that being affected. Now it's black's turn to take a bit of time here on this move. Trying to determine what the right play is. Black instead dropping at e3? I am really confused by that. Why is he not playing at c5? Why is c5 open? Is he trying to be sneaky? What's the play here? Then white plays at f4. Looks like they're going for the horizontal road. Black's playing now at f5. This is not attack threat, but the following turn it will be. When black places at c5. I am very intrigued by this because neither player is making the move at c5. Am I not seeing something? Is there something I'm missing here? It's been several turns where c5, either a wall or a flat, has been the ideal move. Maybe just one turn or two turns. But no one's taking it. Maybe not the ideal move. Maybe the obvious move, at least to me. But no one's taking it, and I wonder why that is. Is it some sort of mind game, or is it that there's something I am not seeing here? Adelta playing with that capstone. What is going on? White comes over with the cap. Now, if black plays at c5, white comes up with the capstone onto e5 to stop the horizontal. So black plays at d... Why d3? White wants to play at d4 to make the road threat. So black plays at d3, planning to come down with the capstone after d4 gets played? Is that what the play is here? Maybe... What... Is this one of those things where these guys are playing, 4D attack and I'm just playing checkers over here? What am I not seeing? Why D3? D3 over D4. I guess the idea is to capture over with the capstone, capture down, but then white doesn't play at d4. I feel like this is now twice where they're sort of playing a mind game, where they're leaving open spots for the other player to place a flat and trying to set up a trap for it. So c5 for the longest time was that trap, and now it has officially been sprung. Now we're going to see white probably move that capstone up. And if white moves the capstone up, black plays a flat at d4. White's checking to see what other captures that they can make to stop this from happening. Does bring up the capstone. Now black likely going to play at d4, unless I miss my guess. That makes sense. I'm thinking d4 or f6 if they want to be weird about it. And I say weird about it in that you could make this play for several turns out where you make an a6 minus move, capture that flat, that stack there at a5, and then you bring up 3d5 plus. Now 3d5 plus, if you're wondering what that is, off to the left there, that's plate tack, or no, portable tack notation. That's how we describe moves to be 3 pieces, all the whole stack basically from d5 up onto d6 to be able to spread to the right and make a threat that way. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're seeing instead black making this play. Now we're going to see a black flat at f3 to renew that tack threat. White does not have a threat here, but they're building towards one, and potentially building towards one with a capture. And because we notice we've got f4, e4, e5, e6, d6, so it's swooping up around over the top of that black capstone, and you might be able to see a capture or a stack throw eventually, throwing up all the way to c6 or something like that to make that threat. That seems to be what they're going for, but black is able to make a threat quicker by just placing at f3 that white would have to respond to. But I'm not sure why black isn't playing that yet. Maybe they've got some other tactic in mind. We do notice that MehrGills just passed the 9-minute mark, and adelta is down below 7 minutes on the clock. Does play at f3. There's the tack threat. Now black can play a flat at a4 for the road, or capture down with a6, or capture up with b5. So the only real way to stop all of them is to cut it off on the right-hand side by capturing f3 or e4 or something like that, or on the left-hand side, b5 is sort of the linchpin there. You'll be able to continue it. Yeah, b5 is the spot to capture. However, you'll have to do that with b6, and then b4 comes up. Yeah, that's not great. So yeah, I think you want to stop this at the right-hand side. Now that might be with d2 plus. That could work. That would cut it off, and that looks to be what they're doing. They picked up d2. So d2 plus happens. There we go. Now this also works towards white's road threat. Not a threat yet, but it does work towards it. Black here has several options. Honestly, I kind of like coming down with a6 now, and then reserving the right to throw that capstone and spread it down. So a 3d5 minus 1, 2 to capture onto that d3 stack, be able to spread that to the left, be able to spread the black stack that you leave behind on d4 to left or right. But first you want to make that a6 minus move to capture that stack on a5. That way you're giving yourself the opportunity to make that move that you really want. So instead, he plays at a4, just drops a flat there. Okay. I can see that too. Dropping a flat there also works. So now he can come down with the capstone. Come all the way down here onto d3. Let's do a different color here. Comes down to d3, spreading. And then this black stack that would be here on D4 would be able to come left to complete the road. Yeah, that would work. Because there would be 2 black flats on D4 if you did that. Now, white's got to be able to counter this, and this is not a threat from black at the moment. So white could just decide to play a white flat right here at A3 and make their tack threat and force black to respond. Now, unfortunately, one of the ways black can respond to that is by throwing that capstone down exactly how they want to. At least I think that works. Whoa, that had to have been... No, I guess that was an intentional wall to drop there to capture up onto E3. Really interesting. Really interesting. So that wall is now able to come up onto E3 and ruin this whole part of black's sort of plan to get this horizontal working. So definitely decided to drop that wall. Interesting they decided to drop the wall there now. And they didn't drop it earlier at C5. Yeah, this is a tough one for black. Black does decide to go for it anyway. Makes the move. This is the tack threat. Now black can capture over left with this double stack. Or decide to capture down with this black flat. And then make the road. So now white, likely planning for this, can now bring that wall up onto E3. The white's taking their time here, not making the move right away. But this is a threat. They do need to respond to it. Yeah, it feels like that wall has to happen now. But it also feels like black now has the opportunity to bring this capstone, like once the wall comes up, let's say the wall comes up, right? Then black can spread this capstone stack left and make a really strong positive flat count differential move, and also set themselves up for building for this sort of vertical line here. I'm using way too many lines. But that seems to make a lot of sense. The only issue is, let's say white comes up with that, black spreads left. White can then throw this wall stack over to capture. So that's the thing you need to worry about if you're black and you're thinking about that. Black instead just going to be playing at D2, going for this vertical line here. I think that's really, really smart. White is going to play here. This is a sneaky threat here. White can throw this D6 all the way down onto D4 to make the road. So very sneaky threat. However, black is likely just going to take this flat and capture left onto that flat. And so you can take the top flat over left, boom, no threat to worry about anymore, and you're making your own tack threat as black. So that just feels like the obvious move here, so maybe that's not going to be played, since we've been seeing a lot of moves that I felt like were the obvious move not being played. So we may be seeing something different here, but that's got to be it. Gotta be it. What are we looking at? Okay, so he does make that exact move. Comes over with just the top flat of d4. This is now making the tack threat for white. Or sorry, for black. And cutting off white's tack threat. Oof. Yeah, this is a tough one. What can white do here besides, like, dropping a wall at d1 is sort of an obvious play. Don't really want to do that, though, because that is yet another wall that you're dropping when you're already behind on flats. At least I'm assuming you're behind on flats. Let's check. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 for white. 13 for black. So yes, behind on flats. It looks like white is hovering with that decision. Maybe going to make that move. Decided against it. That move of throwing that capstone isn't that bad, because you can then use that capstone stack to capture down onto that area, potentially, without losing. But she instead decides to capture left with e4. Black comes up with the capstone. Now white's going to come left with that wall, I imagine. To cut off that vertical threat. And then if white comes left with the wall, so if white comes here, which they do, now black can just drop a flat here to make a threat. Right? Could decide also to drop a flat here, but it wouldn't be as strong. Yeah, I think a flat here at e4 is fine. It might invite the capstone to come down, but if the capstone comes down, you just drop another flat right where the capstone was. Yeah, now the capstone came down, now you just drop a flat here at e5, and you've renewed the threat. And it'll have to be something else. So yeah, does decide to play that that flat there. This is now attack threat for black again. White can decide to come down with e6. Looks like that's what they're doing. Black probably doesn't want to capture left with f5. That doesn't seem very good to me. But what does seem pretty good is just honestly playing here at e6. Playing a flat at e6, playing a flat at f6, you can make your threat that way. Smashing this is tempting and all, but you can't do it at this point because that would lead to a road for white, because this is... Or would it lead to a road? No, it wouldn't lead to a road immediately, no. Or yes, it would. It would lead to a road, my bad. Because it can spread to the left here, and we've already got these flats to connect to that road. So definitely can't smash. But we also look, adelta down below 2 minutes on the clock. MehrGills just now reaching 4 minutes. So white is down on flats, down on time, and honestly down on position. So if white's able to make this work, that'll be pretty dang impressive. All right, so black now plays down at d1, making that connection for the bottom anchor point here. I am intrigued to see what this is going to yield. He can't possibly be thinking of smashing here, because that would lead to a road. He could decide to smash after maybe capturing somewhere down along the line. Now white plays there. Looks like potentially going for their own vertical. They can't make this horizontal work unless they move this wall stack down to then place a flat at d3, but that isn't going to work very well. It'll just get filled in by black. Black plays up at e6. Looks to be going for that horizontal up at the top that I was talking about. Playing up at f6 would be the next move. We may see f5 plus here. So f5 capturing onto f6, which would be attack threat for black. I don't think we're going to see that, though. I can envision... What could we see here? I don't see the capstone moving up to d6 now. I feel like that would be premature, wouldn't work great. Instead, we do see a d5 placement, which is a threat as well, and not making any flat-on-flat captures. Has black made a single flat-on-flat capture this whole game? I'm not sure that they have, which is some serious self-control, for sure, if that's the case. I'm not sure they've made a single flat-on-flat capture. I'll need to look at that. Let's see, move 11 was a capture. Move 11, move 19, 21, and 22. Only 4 captures this entire game by black. That is notable. And I think they were all done with the capstone. Yeah, that is I'm going to say notable. Oh, apparently there was a flat-on-flat capture on c4. Okay. Yeah, I see that now. Yeah. That was the top flat from d4 moving over. Okay, yeah. Now I remember. So one singular flat-on-flat capture. Wow. Yeah, that is some discipline. Okay, now black dropping a wall here at e5. That's a good spot for the wall. Able to capture over onto that stack. That is definitely going to be very tempting here for black to capture that. So white is going to want to probably, gut instinct, move that stack away. Ooh. Not going to go for it, though. Going to place a flat at e2? Yeah. Placing a flat at e2. This is now attack threat. Black's going to be capturing over there. Got to be capturing with that wall on... Yep, right there onto f5. Now white walls. Now black can just stay there. That's fine. They've got a +2 move available to them at any point that they want to make it. Whether it be up or down. They don't need to worry about that at this point. They can just keep that stack there. They forced white to drop yet another wall. And they can just coast on flats at this point, I feel like. Because it's what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 for white. And 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Plus 2 Comey, 14 for black. So it's a 4 flat count difference between these two players. Also, adelta down below 1 minute, down to 40 seconds on the clock. Black is basically free to just keep on dropping flats at this point. And look how low black is on reserves. Black has very few reserves left here. White has a significantly larger amount. So black controls when this game ends and is +4 on flats. +5 right now because they placed that other flat on e1. That is a very strong position to be in. White's going to have to do some crazy stuff here in order to make this work. And I'm not sure that there is enough crazy available to them to make it work. So I think we're going to see an f1 from black. I mean, if we take a look at the timer, like I missed it just now, but they have a 10-second increment, meaning that adelta was down to 8 seconds. Like, adelta was down to 8 seconds before when they made that move of placing at f2. So Adelta's really, really low here. MehrGills is still above a minute, getting down to a minute and a half. And so they get 10 seconds after every turn, and Adelta's going to have to playing on that increment basically right now. And that is a very, very tough thing to do. The time pressure is real, and it can definitely get to you. I know I start to panic at like 3 minutes on the clock, which is really great for blitz games when you start with 3 minutes. But but I know that time does get to you. So Black's just placing here at B2, knows that he can kind of get away with just placing and placing and placing. White placing at C2 right away, spent only 5 seconds on that turn. Going for this horizontal road threat. I get it. I get what you're going for. I don't know if you're going to be able to make this work in time is the problem, White. Black plays at the F1. There's no threat currently here. White's running low on time. Okay, down to 20 seconds. White's going to want to capture right onto D1 with C1, I imagine. Oh, no, you can't do that. That'll leave a road. You got 10 seconds, adelta. That doesn't really do anything for you. But Black can now place at A2 or A1 and make attack threat. And it is attack threat because they have this stack here they can throw down. But instead they bring the wall stack down, just being extra sure that they have the flat lead, I guess. But that could be disastrous for them. Black really, right now, really needs to drop something here at A2 or A1 to make that threat happen. Oh, goodness. Yeah, or play up above there. That works too. White's going to bring that wall stack down. Black can now play here to make the threat. And then White plays here at F5 to cut that off. White's got less than 10 seconds on the clock, got to do it quick. Now Black can play at A2 or A1 to make that threat. Oh, but it doesn't matter because they're out of flats, out of reserves anyway, and they win on flats. So congratulations to MehrGills for winning game 1 of this 2-game match in the Intermediate TAC Open tournament. That was a fun game to watch, definitely. These two players playing some really interesting moves that I wasn't expecting, and not playing the moves that I was expecting is the biggest thing for me that I noticed in that one. It was a lot of fun to watch, though, and that was super interesting. So thanks, everybody, for watching. That is all for today. Check out the description below for all things TAC, especially the TAC Discord server, which is where you can find all sorts of TAC resources like strategy guides and people to play with, whether that be online through playtac.com or asynchronously through the Discord itself. Lots of great stuff out there, lots of great resources. Be sure to check that out. And that is all for today. Thanks for watching, and until next time, have a great day and happy tacking.